Hi, my name is Karen, and this is my second episode of Working Class. Yesterday I made my first video. I hope it went well. I hope you've been able to see it. So this is the follow-up to that. First of all, I want to reiterate what the goals of this channel is. Um, Mainly, it's for me, it's a desire to do what I really want to do and talk about and be involved with things that are relevant to me instead of someone I don't know, someone living in Malta, um, and talking about, what I go through in life, living through a system where I am required to work. And I've never questioned that. I'll say the first time I was informed I was a member of the working class was by my father. I must have been about 4. And I remember one morning he came into me and my sister's bedroom and and he was he was a military soldier, so he was up at the crack of dawn, probably before that. And he came in and he said, "No one worth anything is not up by 6 a.m." And what I didn't know at the time was he was telling me what my fate was that um, I have to be available, you know, early in the morning until 5, 6, 7, 8. When I worked in New York City, I was working until 12 and 1 in the morning in order to be of value. But the question is to value a value to whom? Is it me or is it someone else? It's someone else. Someone else is benefiting from my labor. Um, so I just want to go back and talk about the thing I mentioned about class. I said yesterday that there was 2 classes, and when you get down to the bare bones of it, there is only 2 classes. There is the owner class that writes paychecks, and there is the class called workers, and we accept paychecks for some type of labor or some type of service or some type of skill we provide to the owner. That skill, that labor, that service has value, and that value exceeds um, of what they pay us. That's one of the scams of the whole system of the worker and owner, is that it really is a scam, and the scam is on us, the 99%, because they pay us a partial amount of that value. And there are many ways, including, taking our labor, which has a value, the things that we make for them, do for them, and then they'll turn around and sell it to us, and then we give them what they gave us in terms of wage, so they're getting even a bigger cut of what we got from them, what we earned for them. We're working from them, and it just goes down the line. And by the end of the day, if you don't have a large savings, that means that you're working for free. I mean, we have to be maintained. Back in the slavery days, or slave societies, the slaves were maintained. Probably not all that well, but they were maintained to some degree to keep them at least functional of some sort. They were also terrorized. That was another motivation for them to work. But under this system, they kind of wanted to get out of the taking care of us or providing us with homes and food and slave cloth once a year. And so we do that ourselves, and we use what they give us to do that so that we can go and work for them. And and I didn't understand this until late. It was actually during COVID lockdowns, and I had this time, because the economy was shut down. There were no jobs. I was looking for work, and jobs kept drying up. And so finally I found, I decided I want to do something that I really want to do. So I joined a group that was talking about these things. They were a political group, and they were very active, and what they were doing was they were winning concessions from the owners of a large city, and they were successful. very, very successful. That's not to say that the group didn't have its problems, it did, but they were very successful, and I did learn a lot from them. And one of the things they said to me, they said, I came in as a know-it-all, well educated, knowledgeable, well read, and I basically said, "There's nothing you can teach me. I know everything. I know history." And they said something that was very true, and I didn't believe it. They said, "You don't know your history." And I said, "What?" I said, "I know history. I know all the wars, and I know the king that led the war, and the reason why they had to slaughter, 100 million people over somewhere else, and the dates, and the general's name." And I realized, as I was spewing this stuff, I realized, what about the common soldier? What about my dad? I wouldn't even know the history of my dad. My dad fought as a soldier in the wars. I knew some of his history. I actually, there's a lot of his stuff I don't know because he doesn't share them. And I know he doesn't share them because it's something that you don't talk about because it's brutal. I read his war manuals. I know what he saw. I know what he did. But he never shared that with us. It was, but we always, at least I always knew. And I don't know his history. What about the battle of some Gettysburg? What's the name of a private? We know the generals, we know the president, we know the president of the Confederacy, you know, but we don't know, who these common soldiers are. Same thing, going on in Ukraine right now. There's a war going on. We know the leaders, we know their names, we know the generals' names, but do we know the name of the guy who or gal who's maintaining the tanks? We really don't know our history, and so I conceded that fact, and I went into it, and I learned broad concepts about history, and a lot of what I'm saying now comes from that experience. Um, uh, and I don't believe that we're ready right now to change the system. I wish we would. I really do, because I think it is pretty miserable. But I also read a number of things that also said that the working class is actually quite conservative. We don't let go. We don't like change. And we're highly tolerant. We'll tolerate things getting pretty awful, like for me right now they are, and I'm ready for change because I'm really angry about it. And I read the history of people who've changed their economy and made their economy more friendly to the working class, with the ultimate goal of the economy, the society, the politics actually being run by us. And that thing has never happened. Not really. What has happened is that I got lost. Something happened outside. It was uh, threw me off. We're not ready, but what will compel us is if it becomes the word this guy used was it was unendurable. It's when the conditions you just can't take it anymore, and then that's when we go. Why is it so hard for us? I mean, this other class, this owner class, is actually very tiny. As I said, we're probably 99.9% of the people in the world. They are also here, but they're that point, 0.01% of the people, but yet they have this hold on everything, and they control our work. They can control our conditions. Right now, I believe that they're basically destroying the economy for themselves. They don't want to deal with things that need to be dealt with. They don't need to redress us. We need redress, and they refuse to do it. And the other thing I know is they don't know how to stop themselves. We're the ones who are going to have to stop them. Jimmy Dore is not going to stop them. It's going to be us. It's going to be anonymous people who do it. We finally just stand up and say no. We are, and as I said yesterday, we are the power. in the world. In fact, a couple of days ago, I was watching a general, a high level general, worked in very important places for presidents, and it was about something going on. It had to do with Ukraine, and he said he was appealing to the people. That's you and me. That's not. He wasn't talking about Jimmy Dore. He was talking to us. He says, "You guys have to stop this." Now, he was the one with access to a president. Jimmy Dore has I watch Jimmy Dore, great channel, love it, but he's just one person. That's the whole thing. But when you have 99.9% of the people in the world, you basically can do whatever you want. And we don't do it. And it's because I know myself, I actually have no desire to be a multi-billionaire. I just don't. I don't want the headache of it. I just kind of want to live my life. I don't need everything. I just need some things. Right now, I'm doing a lot without, because I had to, make a change, and they make it hard for you to make changes, and they punish you by withdrawing things from you, like access to money, access to jobs, and things like that. And so, and I know I'm going to find a way through it. Um, but um, lost track. Let me stop.